alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef.
And my name is Vania.
And we want Ball to give us a baby.
Yes, we do. Well, I personally do because he was attractive. But hi, guys. How are you?
Ball was hot as fuck.
Yeah, he was. Anyway, if you guys haven't figured it out, we are talking about American Horror Stories this episode. You know, something a little different. I feel like we haven't talked about any TV series. So this is probably our first one. And I know that's a really odd way to start, especially with American Horror Stories instead of American Horror Story. But, you know, but yeah, it's going to be, you know, we're just going to have a breakdown of each and every episode, you know, our thoughts and things for the story. And yeah, it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, because I figured that, you know, since this first season just ended, I figured it was still fresh in everybody's mind. So I figured, you know, why not have a discussion on the show and just to like see what our thoughts were, because we haven't really talked about it too much, like our individual thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah. So overall for the season itself, like, what did you think before we get too deep into the episodes?
I thought it was good. I think it is a good way to introduce more of an anthology side of American Horror Story rather than, I mean, American Horror Story is already an anthology within itself, but it's the fact that each episode is a different story rather than just an entire season dedicated to one storyline. It didn't really live up to, at least I don't think it lived up to the expectation of double feature, and I'll probably get a little bit more into that while we go into our breakdown of our episodes, or each episode. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was solid. There were some things here and there that I didn't like, but you know, it's cool.
Yeah, I for the most part enjoyed the majority of the episodes. I did have a couple of issues with some of them regarding, for some reason, just regarding the ending specifically of some of those episodes.
Yeah. I agree.
But overall, I thought I had a good time with it. I definitely felt like it was Goosebumps in the American Horror Story universe.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
A lot of the stories like reminded me of something like that.
Agreed.
Yeah, but well, without further ado, we're gonna get into a deep dive here. So we're gonna talk about our first episode. And Vania, would you want to start with that one, or do you want me to start?
Well, technically, for the first episode is actually connected into two episodes when it first got released. So it's technically considering 6 episodes, but not really. It's kind of really weird the way that they decided to do this. So
yeah,
when they uploaded the grand premiere of the double feature, I feel like this is when it lived up to its name of the season. Name is they dropped 2 episodes, so I just assumed, I was like, okay, if we're gonna get 2 episodes each week, I think it would make sense, you know, like, or regarding each story, so you know, that kind of thing. But yes, in the first episode, we meet a brand new protagonist, or what have you, anti-hero, whatever you want to call her. She's kind of weird. You know, cool little redhead called Scarlet. You know, not born, but yeah, she was born.
She was born? Yeah, she was born.
Yeah, she was born into a gay family, and it's great. And then she also ends up being gay because she is gay too. It's all happy gay family. But you know, it's basically, the synopsis is that she freaking hates living in the house, but then she goes through a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so yes. We definitely have to mention the fact that they immediately take us back to Murder House. And of course, this is a brand new family that's going to the Murder House for the first time, but they're doing things a little bit differently, because literally what they're going to be doing is, instead of fixing up the house to sell it or flip it, they're fixing up the house to make it like a tourist attraction and to like have tours of the Murder House and kind of just make money off the story of the house.
Yep.
So overall, I liked the fact that they went back to Murder House at first because I like Murder
Yeah,
House. I like the setting of Murder House. I like the architecture of the house and how it's built and that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Um, but the first episode wasn't bad.
Wasn't
My
bad, no.
no, my biggest issue were the dads. I kind of hated the dads.
Yeah, they were a little annoying. They
Es-
were just like
they
a little
were,
whiny.
especially the long haired dad, like the blonde one.
Yeah.
He was an asshole, honestly.
Oh, for
Like I
sure.
hated his character.
Yeah, and the fact, another thing about this episode, I mean, I definitely liked that this took a more of a traditional route that not a lot of people tend to take nowadays because, of course, bullying is done very differently now in our generation than what it used to be. And of course, and Scarlett falls in love with a girl at school, and then, that girl makes her believe that they're a thing
Yeah.
and
Which
that kind of thing.
by the way, that was actually Paris Jackson, Michael Jackson's daughter.
Really?
Yeah, she did a really good job. I did like her acting in this. It was really good.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, now it's a part of. I feel like they just keep bringing back celebrities. Like, it's like slowly, like kids of celebrities just start going into like
Mm-hmm.
American Horror Story. Seen all kinds of actors go into American Horror Story now, which was like extremely like. I feel like right now everybody just kind of has to be featured in one episode of American Horror Story now.
Which I do kind of like that. I like the fact that like when you're watching a season, you're like, oh, I wonder who's going to show up in the show now. Like which random star is going to show up.
Yeah, for sure. But as I was going along with my thought is that bullying is done very differently, and the fact that trying to get her out as a leslie and that kind of thing, and then they just had like the her being recorded in social media, and of course the whole because now bullying in our generation is like cyberbullying. So
Mm-hmm.
I know I love how they kind of took almost like a traditional route, but not really because normally people you record and you send it through email, and then now it's like all social media. It was a live
Yeah, like
kind of thing.
that was like really really shitty thing to do. Honestly, just like having
Yeah,
like leading this poor girl on and like making her think that she you share the same feelings as her, only to be live streamed and be made fun of.
yeah. So Scarlett gets hard. Like she gets it hard, and
It's
it's not it's not.
not pretty.
But they all tend to eat their words later on. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think one of my problems with that whole section or like with that whole subplot is we've already seen that before in American Horror Story. Not to the extent that it shows up in stories, but like it's literally what happens in the first season of like, the new girl in school, kind of an outcast, kind of different from everybody else, and she immediately gets bullied.
yeah,
And like that's the same thing that happened with Violet in the first season.
yeah.
So I'm like, I don't like the fact that they're just like retreading the same ground. I'm like, just do like it'd be nice to do something different.
Yeah, but I did like the twist, of course, in the where she kind of becomes the new latex BDSM
Yeah, she
murder,
becomes the rubber woman now.
the rubber woman, and I like that a lot. It was so cool. Like I was like, wow, what a nice spin on it.
Yeah, that
But
was
yeah,
fun.
um, when it comes to American Horror Stories and like the first and second episode, I did like the cohesiveness of it. But like you've said before, it's just been a lot of this stuff has been done before,
Yeah.
and it gets repetitive. I did like the love story that has developed within Murder House.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely
Which
it
was
has a redeeming features. Has redeeming
mm-hmm.
features. So yeah,
Which
for
was
sure.
honestly a really interesting way to tell the love story because this is for spoilers. Actually, we should have mentioned that earlier. We're going to be talking about some spoilers of the show. Um, I love the fact that they played the love story of Scarlett being alive and the girl that she falls for being a ghost of the murder house.
Mhm.
And it creates that dilemma of the the ghost being like, hey, like maybe you should kill yourself so we can be together forever. But like at the
Yeah.
same time, Scarlett has so much to live for. Like she has her whole life ahead of her.
Yeah, for
So it's
sure.
like that such an interesting dilemma of like what would she do?
Yeah. To be fair, she almost died the first time.
Mm,
So because of that whole bullying situation. But she tends to wait a little bit longer and that kind of thing.
yeah.
And then yeah, it's crazy because I love how they get to live forever, and of course, like the fact that she can only go see her every Halloween is like the most
Hmm.
redeeming part.
Yeah.
Oh,
But going back to something in both episodes, I feel like sometimes they would just make like a clusterfuck of just stuff happen just for the sake of stuff happening. Like in the first episode
yeah,
when they kill off the therapist, like there was no reason to do that other than to just kill off somebody.
yeah,
Yeah, and then there's the whole like I would say climax of the second episode where it just turns into an absolute insanity clusterfuck of like, hey, here's the builder that's like ransoming people off for money, but then he gets killed, and then they find the bodies that Scarlet hid in the walls, and it's just like 18 different things going on at once, and I'm just like, all right, focus on one. Like this is way too much, too fast right now.
yeah. So the only thing that I can really say is that American Horror Story has the tendency to do that a lot with its seasons.
Yeah,
It's a love hate. I love but hate it at the same time because I love it when they're always like having things happen in 20 different directions.
yeah,
But in the end, they always tie it together. I guess they were trying to try that with
which
American
is
Horror
exactly
Stories.
what I was thinking. Because with at least with like the regular seasons, because they're a longer format, I feel like those moments are earned a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like you can feel when they're going to be climaxing, and you can kind of place where everything is going to go, or at least where you think it's going to go. But with these two episodes, they're trying to tell such a similar story, but within just two episodes, like they kind of have to throw all the shit into a fan at once with not a lot of
Yeah.
sense, not a lot of time to explore it. So
Oh, yeah.
that's why I had so many issues with that.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just, American Horror just tends to do that a lot. And I hope
Hmm.
that they were renewed for a second.
Well,
Uh,
it's been renewed. Yeah, it's already been renewed. So
yeah.
we're getting a second season.
But they should try not to do that. It would
Yeah.
be nice, but it's nice to know that we're not coming back to
Hmm.
Murder House, and we finally put that shit to rest for sure. The only thing that I was oh well, I shouldn't say that yet.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's
we'll
for
get to that
the
later. Yeah.
yeah.
But moving on to our next episode, is the drive-in episode,
I like this
which
one a lot.
I think this was my favorite episode of the whole season.
Me too.
Like I absolutely loved
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
concept of this episode. It gave me some huge Slaughter Cinema vibes.
Oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
not just the drive-in, but like the story of it was very Slaughter Cinema.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that it was literally about these kids going to a drive-in to see this cursed or forbidden movie because people who watch the movie go into a murderous frenzy and just start killing each other.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like this whole mystery of like, what about this movie makes people want to kill each other, or like what happened, like because it's like this huge event that happened like 30 or 40 years ago, and like the movie was only shown for one night because immediately it got banned after that. Like the director got blacklisted in Hollywood, and he kind of went cuckoo because like he's like, you're trying to limit my art, like this is you can't do this to me and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think from I guess a really weird media and film buff that we both are. I feel like we love this one a lot for like sometimes you also wonder like what did the movie actually look like? I wish I could see what the movie actually looked like.
Yeah,
It was like
exactly.
it makes you think. And of course, we have these two teenagers that are boyfriend and girlfriend celebrating their anniversary. Of course, like every horror film, there's always had to be a fuck fest. And yeah, so then everybody goes into frenzy. I really liked the sequences of like everybody kind of just changing, and then when they were trying to escape,
Mm-hmm.
and you see like their physicality change and the way that they were chasing them
Yeah.
with the blood and slamming the blood on the car, that kind of thing. I thought that was really freaking cool.
Yeah, like they almost turned into like the zombies from 28 Days Later. Just like
Yeah,
frenzy,
it's
just
really
running
cool.
like maniacs and just killing everything in sight. I was like, this is ridiculous, and I love it. There
And
was
it
some
didn't
really,
feel rushed. It didn't feel
yeah, like you understood like where it was leading up to. I absolutely loved some of the kills as well. I think my one of my favorite kills was definitely the blowjob kill.
Oh yeah, that was so
The
good. Oh
blowjob
my
kill
god.
was so good.
It was funny as fuck. So
Yeah. Um, and again, I think the characters were pretty likable in this one too. Like they felt human, like they felt like real people.
yeah.
Like it's
And
like,
what I'm glad is that they didn't have them like the boyfriend and girlfriend were completely flawed, and that was completely
yeah,
okay.
like,
Like you can tell, like they weren't just trying to both be heroic or just try
hmm
to see like I really did expect them to try and keep running for their lives, but they actually took this thing head on, like regardless of their flaws, being mad at each other, that kind of
hmm
thing, just trying to figure this shit out together because they were thinking more than themselves because they have already been in an argument at this point already,
hmm
but they were thinking of the basically
the
the
greater
well
good.
being of everybody else,
Yeah,
of trying to save the whole world from seeing this movie.
yeah, and not to mention too, like not just like the boyfriend and girlfriend, but some of the side characters, like their friends, they also got fleshed
Yeah,
out pretty well. Like you know, one of them was nervous about being with this guy for the first time, and like the guy just not being sure that he likes her or likes them or not. Like
yeah.
stuff like that was really cool. I like how that was used to flesh out some of the characters.
Hmm.
Um, but going back to like what happens in the story, once the movie plays and everybody goes ape shit, the two, the boyfriend and girlfriend hide in the projection room where they have to also defend themselves again from another crazy person. And I felt like this was kind of a cheap shot where like the girl immediately knew how to handle a shotgun, and of course like they
Yeah,
went for like the easiest answers, like, yeah, my dad's a cop. And it's like
yeah,
there's like no mention of that previously, which I think would have made a little bit more sense.
hmm.
Of like, especially like at the beginning, like during the first argument, it's like, hey, like my dad's a cop, he could have barged in at any time, and like he could have beat the shit out of you or something like that.
Oh, for sure,
Like
for
I think
sure.
that would, if just like that one line would have been enough. But instead of just like randomly just her shooting this person and just being like, I know how to handle guns.
It happens. I mean,
Yeah.
she was. It's what can I say? It's the industry,
It is what it
honestly.
is, yeah. But it's just like a little nitpicky thing for me.
Yeah. So, even in this episode, one of my favorite moments is that when they meet the director and you kind of get to see what drove him to make this movie and all this other stuff. I was like, if I was that crazy, I'd probably do that too. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. He gave me like major director vibes
Oh,
of
for
like,
sure.
like pain is art, like film is pain, it has to be captured and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was so good, and I
And
also really did like the way that they handled, of course, getting rid of the tapes as well.
mhm.
That was pretty real. That was like they could have just broken it or throw it out somewhere, but
Nah.
nah. Like I like the fact that they just burned it over a stove.
Not only
It
that,
was great.
they set his whole trailer on fire. They set him on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did like the way that he was played as well. John Carroll Lynch did a really good job with his character. If you don't know, he also played Twisty in season
Oh,
4.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so
That's
yeah,
cool.
he did a good job. I liked his character a lot. I liked just like how he saw himself as almost a god of film,
Yeah.
and I appreciated that. I was like, hey, that's pretty good. That's fun.
Yeah, but let's also talk about the ending. The ending had me.
Yes.
I was like, why the fuck did I
Oh.
love the ending so
That
much?
was
I
like the
love the
most.
ending.
That was like the most goosebumps ending for any of the episodes.
Oh yeah,
Cause
it's
just talk about the ending. Tell me about the ending, cause I want to know. Like,
literally you just see these two making out, literally fucking, and we're all about to fuck. Sorry,
they're making out, they're kissing,
but
they're fucking.
fucking, and we slowly have the camera pan out to their desktop or is a desktop or
Or
a
laptop, something, just a
TV.
computer. Yeah.
And then it has Netflix on it, which I thought was really funny. I was like, wow,
Why
how
not
much
use
did they pay
Hulu?
to put their logo there? Yeah. But and you see that the movie is on Netflix, and then I guess everybody starts watching it, and then it goes out to the window, and then you see the whole world burning to shit while they're fucking.
The shit goes
And like,
viral. Literally goes viral.
yeah. So it's kind of like, that whole saying that film is forever. So
Yep.
they destroyed the physical copy, but I guess he had a Netflix premiere instead.
Yeah. But yeah, that was definitely a great episode. Really well acted. The story was really good, well told. Um, the effects were really good. Like the kills were fun, and the blood effects were
Yeah.
pretty good. So
Yes.
yeah, definitely my favorite episode.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Yeah. But moving on to actually my second favorite episode.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the way that one was shot.
Yeah, Killer Santa
I,
Claus is back.
yeah.
It
Killer
was
Santa
it
Claus.
was so much fun to see a Christmas themed American Horror Story episode again.
Yeah. It was so good. I loved
It
it.
really was.
So let's talk a little bit about it. So we joined these bros in the bro
literally,
house.
literally
And
these
like,
bros that live in the bro house. Like these are like the Jake Paul wannabes.
oh yeah.
And I hated them, but I liked the fact that I hated them.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about getting views, guys. And they lived in a really nice mansion. They're doing shit for views. Bitches, parties, drinks, all that you can think. Typical frat boy energy, big
Yeah.
wannabe big dick energy. So we have, of course, three characters that are always in front of the camera, and then there's the one that's always behind the camera.
Who's
So
Artie from
they're all just chilling.
Who was Artie from
Uh,
Glee? I love that.
So they're just chilling outside in the city, and they see about a guy about to jump, and they just think it's a brilliant idea to
Jeez.
film someone end their life, and they
Yeah.
think they're gonna get views upon views upon views.
And again,
And
it's like the whole Logan Paul thing where he goes into the suicide forest and like films a dead body, and you're like, dude, you can't do that. Like
yeah.
that is so wrong on so many levels.
Oh yeah, I was like, damn, like American Horror Story be bold right now.
Yeah.
With filming something like that. So they go, and the person who's behind the camera with the gimbal, he says, I don't want to do it. And because this is fucked up, and they're like, no, think about the views, we would be in the 5 millions, blah, blah, blah. And then finally convinces them, and then they literally start chanting bro house until
While this
that guy
jumps
jumped,
off a
and then he's like,
bridge.
yo, that guy went off the right way. He went straight his permanent vacation to heaven. And I was like, whoa,
Jeez.
listen, y'all need to relax. But then of course they have a party, I think the day after, and
Yeah,
then they
like that,
decide
like
to
a
premiere
premiere
it.
party. Yeah.
Premiere party. So when they premiered the video,
Almost
everybody was
immediately.
shocked. Almost left immediately when they saw the guy jump off the building, and then they realized they were losing subscribers among subscribers and all this other stuff.
They
So
lost
then,
sponsorships. They lost they were being sued by the family of the person who killed themselves.
yeah,
And,
it was bad.
and then they make things even worse by being like, okay, we'll rebrand this gay bro house because people
Oh
would
my
like
god.
that. And it's just
and then it's like,
even
oh, I like
stupider.
your abs, no homo.
Oh my god. And the whole thing of like, oh, I made a mess with like ice cream on his all over his body. You're like, oh my god, please stop.
Yeah. Or it's like, oh, it's like, bro, is that a boner? I was like, oh god,
This is so
no.
cringe.
I really like the way that these actors portrayed, and they were able to act cringy because I feel like it's second nature to an actor to be cringy because that's how we all started when we all started in acting school. Be like cringy as fuck.
Yeah, they played horrible characters to perfection.
Oh yeah, amazing. So they tried to rebrand a couple of times, and then the person behind the camera said we should just go back to our roots. Just
do what we used to do. Like playing pranks at the mall. Yeah.
And so they decided to go to the mall, and going back to their roots wasn't exactly in the agenda because they did the complete opposite.
And started sexually harassing this poor girl just working as an elf, a Santa's elf. And then making fun of the little person that was working as well.
Yeah.
But
then it gets escalated to Santa Claus, them twerking on Santa Claus.
Yes. Very Lil Nas X style.
Literally gets kicked ass. And then, he says that they're gonna get what they deserve. And
I mean, honestly, like if the Santa Claus at the mall looks like Danny Trejo, like I think I would think twice about messing with him because like that's Machete. Like you don't mess with Machete.
Oh yeah. Yo, the fact that Machete was fucking in that shit had me rolling.
I love that. I'm like I love that he's a killer Santa Claus.
So, of course, they get scattered out of the mall, and then, then the real festivities, the real Christmas festivities begin at home when they're, seeing that their views and their videos are just not getting enough attention. They're losing subscribers upon subscribers and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's also when we find out that the Danny Trejo Santa Claus wasn't the mall Santa Claus. It was a serial killer, this guy that goes around killing Santa Clauses and just assuming their identity.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
it reminded me of the killer from Asylum, the Christmas killer in Asylum.
Oh, yeah. I remember that, damn. It's been such a long time since I watched Asylum. I need to rewatch all the American Horror Story. I always find myself going to rewatch Hotel a lot. And like Coven. I need to watch Asylum again. I miss. But anyway, as I'm, just casually trying to scratch myself with a Sharpie. Yeah, it's super weird. I can't reach there, guys. But either way, so apparently one of them starts getting really frustrated that we're not just getting enough views and stuff like that, and he goes to grab a beer in the back of their house kind of thing, and then they see a camera in the refrigerator, and then in front of the camera they're like, what the fuck, and he gets his neck twisted that his spine fucking pops out,
which was
and it's
so
fucking
cool. It was such a gnarly kill.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I liked that kill a lot.
Yeah.
And then the second kill was that the other bro wanted to look for his homie. They said thinking that the other one was pranking the other one, and he goes off to look for him, and he gets tied up in the Christmas lights. And I don't know what he had in his mouth. Was it poison ivy or some shit? I forgot.
Well, no, because then he got thrown into the pool, so he got electrocuted.
No, like he got stuffed in his mouth that he started bleeding before.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I can't tell what that was. If it was like poison ivy or some shit,
or it might have been like broken like Christmas decorations too, something like that. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, but either way, he gets tossed into the pool and gets electrocuted to death. So that was pretty intense.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like as I'm watching it, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Get it.
We rooting for Santa Claus.
I'm over here rooting for Machete.
Then I think the third kill was that he gets an arrow. through his
Yes,
hand.
because his Santa Claus is
And
just stacked with weaponry. He's like, I got my hands, I got Christmas lights, and I also have a fucking crossbow.
yeah, so one of them gets pinned to the car,
Yeah,
and I don't know how else does he
and then he
die.
gets an arrow to the face.
Yeah, narrow to the face. Yes, I thought there's something else happened. I think I looked away for a second during that scene. I don't know why. I was probably doing something. But then he gets the other guy with the gimbal starts running around trying to survive. Then he realizes that they're getting hella views on YouTube, and and everybody thinks it's like their best entertainment
Yeah,
yet. And
and of
then
course
they're
he's
like,
over here like
"No, we're
writing, "Help!
actually in
Please help us!"
trouble."
Yeah,
And everybody's, and then he finally reaches the 5 million, and yeah,
this is
and
the part I hated the most because I'm like, dude, you're trying to survive. Are you seriously gonna stop and cheer that you got 5 million subscribers like right now? Really?
yeah,
Like, seriously? Come on. Especially because he had been like the smartest character so far. Like the voice of reason is like, hey guys, we shouldn't do this. It's gonna be really shitty if we do this. Or like, hey, maybe we should go back to our roots. And you guys are being assholes about the whole thing.
yeah,
So, for him to just stop and be like, guys, we made it to 5 million subscribers, knowing that his friends are dead. I'm like, come on.
yeah.
Come on. Come on. Dude.
And of course, Santa Claus burns down the entire house down.
Yep. Because Santa Claus don't mess around.
And then we also see at the end, I think this was my favorite part. It was that we did see one of the characters at the end. Of course, the police officer is there, and he realizes that the killer was there at their house. And I really liked that they had one of the guys that he killed as a Christmas tree. I was like, I really
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
that was cool.
That was fucking
Well,
cool.
no, what he did was he chopped them all up into pieces and just used them as the ornaments on the tree, which was
Yeah, I thought it was
badass.
just one.
I think it was. I thought it was all of them.
No, I think it's just one because
Oh well.
the other one's body was still in the pool. I don't know about the other one though.
I don't know, but
The
I just
thing
thought it
is,
was
like,
cool.
what's crazy it was that the way he died is like he was on fire. He runs to the pool, but doesn't survive. Is what's crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, that was really random. Like, I was like, if you got there to the pool in time, like, and you were still moving, you just went dead. Like, unless there's like an effect that I don't know about when it comes to fire, that as soon as it hits water and you're hitting a certain degree burn, like you just die automatically. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Or it could have just been that at that point he was just too burned and he just died of his injuries.
Yeah,
It could
that's
just be
true.
that, yeah.
But yeah, that was Bro House Killer Santa Claus episode. That was
That one
that
was
was
a
pretty
fun
gnarly.
episode. Yeah, that was a really fun episode.
Yeah.
But now we move on to our next episode called Ball.
Yeah.
Ball was like a
Ball
weird episode.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching Mother.
Yeah, it felt like Mother and Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah. Just combined together.
Yeah. It was Rosemary's Mother's Baby.
Rover's Mother's Baby. Yeah. So the episode we are joined by a couple that they're trying to conceive, or so. Yeah.
And just
Um.
aren't able to.
Yeah, and are unable to, and then she really wants a baby, and then she realizes, hey, like they're trying to every clinic, and the boyfriend seems very supportive about it. And then she goes into the front desk to make an appointment, and then the front desk girl was like, hey, this has been in my family for generations. You
It's a
should try
fertility
it.
doll.
It's a fertility doll. You might actually get a baby. So literally, I think that same day they fuck. They fuck. And yeah, and it turns out that 16 months later she has a baby. Then
Yes.
she thinks that she is not capable of being a mother because she doesn't know how to handle the baby. For it's crying all the time. And then the Hispanic housekeeper is like, oh, like it takes time. Like, don't rush, that kind of thing. But she feels let down. Postpartum depression is a real
Yeah.
thing. So she's feeling all that kind of stuff. But then, when she has the baby, she starts noticing some weird shit happening all over the house. That's making her seem crazy. So her husband's like an aspiring actor. He wants to be an actor. He's like going to every audition possible. So that kind of thing. And then what else happened?
So,
Was it?
so then at that point is when she starts sensing supernatural stuff like voices and seeing like shadows in the baby monitor. So like just
Mhm.
really kind of creepy stuff. And she starts getting paranoid. She's like, "There's something in so I'm trying to get after the baby." And of course, the boyfriend or the husband doesn't believe her, and like things that she just has like suffering from stress and depression. So then she goes into therapy, and things are okay for a little while. Like she gets better, but then of course the demon or the demon thing comes back full force, and it just makes things even worse now.
Yeah,
To the point where like she's just a nervous wreck, just on her computer all the time, just listening to the audio of the baby monitor and like trying to figure out what's going on. And she's like shuts herself off from everybody and is literally just focused on that.
yeah. And not only that, that the talisman has been changing and all that
Yes.
kind of stuff. So she thinks she's going crazy. She tries different methods and she can't. And then, of course, it led to almost like problems in the marriage and that kind of thing. But he's trying to basically be there for her, but she's just freaking out about everything coming after her baby.
Yeah.
Um, the demon's hot.
Well, before we get to that, that's
Mm,
at one point, things get to a head, and she actually gets committed into an
yeah,
asylum. And the husband's like, "Don't worry, I'll take care of the baby. Like we're gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this." And lo and behold, we figure out that the husband's a piece of shit. And this
oh
entire
yeah,
time, the receptionist was actually his mistress. And they planned the whole thing along with his buddies that are all like, costume designers and special effects artists and sound designers and that kind of stuff. So they're like, we're gonna do this whole ridiculously convoluted plan of making it seem like this demon is taking over her soul and the baby's soul. And,
yeah.
like,
They made it to a whole ass production. I was like,
they
yo, what
did
the
of like
fuck?
the whole playing around with a fog machine, making a whole costume of a demon, creating the sound that she heard on the baby monitor, like playing around with the like visual effects to make the demon on the baby monitor. Like it was just ridiculous, like the lengths that they went to do this.
Yeah,
Oh, we forgot to mention that she actually goes back to the receptionist and say like, "Hey, something really creepy's going on. Like maybe you know what to deal with." And so she shows her, it's like, "Hey, you can do this ritual that should like exorcise the demon or whatever."
yeah.
So she does that, but something
The
interesting.
whole reason why you got like into the asylum was because she accidentally stabbed her husband.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
Um, Now what happens next is that the shit hits the fan when the actual real demon shows up at the husband's like little get together with all his friends and just starts murdering people left and right.
yeah,
But then the demon is smart as fuck and just leaves the husband alive so he can get blamed for all the murders. Oh, that was honestly really cool. I like that little twist.
yeah. I definitely enjoyed that, especially like the fact that the book that she gave her was like definitely worked in some
Yeah.
shape or form. So she definitely the blonde got what she asked for sure.
Yeah, because that's where you find out that the ritual was real. So she summoned the demon, and she technically, the wife technically controlled the demon and said, "Hey, I know they were manipulating me. I need you to frame my husband for murder."
Yeah. And
And
then she goes visit him in jail and starts insulting him, all sorts of things. And he needs money, and
yeah,
she says,
and then
"No,
he just
fuck
asked
you,
for
get your
money.
own money. You're gonna seem crazy on your own. So yeah, fuck off, get
Yeah,
a life." And then yeah, she's chilling with her baby. She got a new hubby now.
And Demon Man shows up and he's like, "Hey, like, I did what you asked me for. Can like I go back to the demon realm? Like, please?"
And have some sexy demons with you. Like, give me another baby. So
Yeah.
basically, that's how the
And literally the woman
episode
is like,
ends.
yeah,
He
the
was
woman's
hot. Oh my god! I was like, damn, I'm in heat for a demon. Like, what the fuck?
like literally, she's like, "Demon, I will let you." Baal, his name is Baal. It's like, "Baal, I'll let you go, but you gotta, you gotta get in here real quick and give me another baby." And then, like, that's how it
Sexy,
ends. And you're
sexy.
like, "Holy shit, that was fucking
Yeah,
awesome."
yeah. It's like, damn.
She wears the pants in the relationship. The demon's just like, "I guess I'll do what you want."
Yeah. Nah. I imagine him a little bit more dominant, huskier than that. The fuck.
Well,
In my
considering
head, at
like
least.
she technically controls him because like she summoned him so she can control him. Like he literally
Yeah.
couldn't leave unless unless he told him to.
Yeah.
So like at this point, like I think this is his first time as a sub. So he's like, I guess I have to do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I guess I have to.
Yeah. Anyway, Demon was hot.
Yep, Demon was he had it going on.
For sure.
But we're almost there. We're actually on our next to last episode. Which I honestly I didn't love this episode. I think it was one of my least favorite ones.
Yeah, it was. It was slow.
Yeah,
It
it
was
wasn't
fucking
just slow. It was
slow.
just like the story wasn't interesting. Like when it did pick up, I was like, I don't really care.
Yeah. So we're gonna spare you a lot of the details. Basically, well, there is not a lot of details to go into because it was definitely that slow.
Yeah.
Parents lose kids in woods. I don't know how one does that, but they did. I don't know how a child manages to disappear unless being called for, crying for help. I don't understand. Anyway, so they lose a child in the woods, and years go by, and dad's still obsessed with trying to find his son from the woods. Some hunter says, "Hey, I have this picture, and I have your kid's compass. I think I know where he is," kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. But I will need some expenses. And then he's like, sure. He convinces his wife. He
Who is
says
now his ex-wife.
his ex-wife. And she's seeing other people, but it's not being so successful because she don't want another family. And yeah, he's like, this guy knows where our son is. And she's like, you fucking crazy. And nah, like, are you putting me through this awful like suffering again?
Mm-hmm.
And then he somehow convinces her to come along to the woods again. They all go to the woods. They
meet with the Australian park ranger.
The park ranger, yeah, and he tells them, hey, like, yeah, there's other shit in these things,
like,
but it's
don't
classified. I can't tell you. And then the other guy's like, oh, you really gonna believe him? Like, we should go before sundown, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like he already knew, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so about the weird shit that happens in the woods.
They played it off as like, oh yeah, there's just like a shit ton of like pot farmers that are like tied to the cartel or like some such bullshit.
Yeah. So they're trying to find out what kind of shit happened. Apparently, they did say the ranger did say that he did see one of them carrying his son, but he was not very sure the day that he disappeared years ago. And they said, nah, you crazy, so we're just gonna keep going. So they went, and it felt the wife and husband kept arguing the entire time, and and the other guy was getting pissed off. He's like, hey, this is not a marriage, like
retreat.
Retreat, so y'all need to get your shit together and keep moving. So eventually shit hits the fan, and they find a whole bunch of dead bodies, and it's he finally confesses. The hunter says that it was a picture of his 13-year-old son that he took, and it was compass that he found from Salvation Army and dirtied it up, that the same one that he gave to his son. He was only trying to basically get the money and run.
Yeah.
They get pissed. He gets shot. Shit hits the fan. Everybody's freaking out. And then a body goes chomp into the guy's neck, and they start running for their fucking lives.
Just eviscerates the hunter.
Yeah, that's so. I think that's when I was like, "Damn! Finally, something happened." Like
Right?
this shit's just dragging, and so after they hit the ranger's office again, he finally tells them that those are there's like these cannibalistic people that the government has been keeping away from civilization, and how it's possible that they probably ate their son, that kind of thing. And then, those weird cannibal looking people break into the office. They start eating the ranger. They were trying to escape.
And just ripping up shit.
It's like some weird. I liked the design of these cannibals, but I hated how,
they were shot.
Basic. They were shot. I couldn't get a good look at them. I liked the design, but it was so shaky. I was like, oh my gosh, please leave the camera alone. I know this is like a high activity scene, but don't fucking I can't see what the fuck did they look like.
Don't consistently drop the camera, but then catch it at the last second.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like. It was just moving like crazy.
I was like, Jesus Christ, leave it alone.
I did like the little backstory to the feral people. How they were almost like cryptids.
Yeah,
and how essentially the national parks were built just to give them a home. Like it wasn't to preserve America's beauty or whatever they were saying. It was literally just like keep them in those woods so they wouldn't attack other people.
Yeah, to go into the city and
go ape shit.
attack ape shit. So they provide them a place to stay, and some victims to feed when they feel like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then they're running for their lives, trying to live, and then this is the part that was so fucked up. This was a nice twist, but it was so fucked up. I was like, why would you do that? Like, but I get it. The kid was 3. They finally, trip. All these cryptids or these cannibalistic people are surrounding them, and then they all kind of stop for a moment. The parents look up
at the king of the ferals.
And it's their son that they lost, and then he says "boo" like when we see at the beginning of the episode. And then you would think that he would recognize them, because they're like, "Oh, like hi, Jacob," or whatever.
Or maybe he does, and he's just like, "Y'all fucking left me in the woods with these cannibal people for like 10 years. Like the fuck."
Yeah. So then one of them asks, like, "Oh, who are these people?" And then he takes a while to answer, and I'm like, "Please say my parents, because I will." Then he says dinner, and I'm like,
come on,
savage, and I was like, and then when I saw them tear them apart, I'm like, man, that kid said, I have no feelings. He was like, I hated as much as everybody's gonna dislike this episode, I might as well just do them a solid. I don't like being in this episode either, but here we are.
Yeah, like it was just taking this episode. This episode took so long to get to anything interesting.
Yeah,
and even then, the interesting parts weren't that interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, okay, and I hate to admit this, but I was constantly, like, pausing the episode to see how much time I had left, and I was like, oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just stop, just end.
And that was the shortest. It was the shortest episode.
It was the shortest episode, but it felt like the longest.
Yeah.
And it's a shame.
It was 40 minutes.
Because it had an interesting idea, but it was just so badly executed.
Oh, yeah. I wish there was a little bit more to it, but it is what it is.
And then, like,
it's
I don't know, it's just, like, the characters were just not interesting either. Like, I don't know, there was nothing about it really stood out to me as, like, fun, except for the ending.
Yeah. I think they just needed something to fill, because the Ranger is the one that played the whole demon thing in the Apocalypse, the whole demon boy. So I guess they needed a role for him. Yeah, he was hot. But I didn't like him so much as a ranger. I'm like, why the fuck? Like he doesn't. Why? That's fine. It's fine. But now we're going to our last episode, which is going back to Murder House
for the last time.
For the last time, or so we hope.
This episode confused me so much.
Oh yeah, I was like, why? I didn't see the point. There was a lot of confusion with the goal of the mother. The whole goal of making this video game.
Yeah, and not only that, just like the whole like canon aspect of it. Like, how the fuck does it fit into the canon? So yeah, but the episode starts off. It
makes me wonder if it's like if it really happened or not. Towards
see, I don't know. Anyway. I couldn't just figure it out. I honestly couldn't. But the episode starts with this couple arriving at the murder house for an Airbnb. It's also kind of like an escape room
played by
experience.
Noah Cyrus.
Yes, played by Noah Cyrus. And they're like, oh yeah, like we're doing this because of this whole Airbnb, like escape the murder house experience. It's like a scavenger
hunt. And they're hardcore American Horror Story fans. And they know everything about it. And I thought they were making fun of themselves. I was like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, they were like, we're hardcore fans of American Horror Story. Like, we met at a convention, and like, I was dressed as Twisty, she was dressed as Sister Jude, like, like that kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, it's gonna be
love at first sight. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so this is gonna be kind of meta, kind of like making fun of American Horror Story.
Yeah.
So, they go into the house, they start off the adventure, and then, after super short sex. The guy just immediately explodes.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, let's start doing what we got to do. Let's explore the house and find the clues to what we need to do. And they come across these girls who are like, hey, you got to help us. Like, it's not safe. And they're thinking, oh, it's, they're just actresses. It's part of, the experience. Until the rubber suit man pops up. And just kills them, and they're like, "Oh shit, this is real."
The guy gets murdered.
Yeah, and then this is where
it starts going everywhere, and then it's the whole making fun of everybody from each season just popping up.
Yeah, and it's like this such
a
like, dumb
what?
thing.
No, what the fuck is going on?
Because even like Noah Cyrus' character is like super self-aware about it. Because like Addie shows up and you're like, wait, you didn't die in the house, you died out in the street, so like you shouldn't be here. And then like Pigman shows up from Roanoke and Twisty shows up. And you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
like, what the hell is this? And that's when we find out that this is all actually a video game. So you're like, okay, this is interesting. So it is set outside of the main story of American Horror Story, and it's just like talking about American Horror Story. So I'm like, okay, I kind of get that. And it's literally this mom that's making a video game for her son, who's like a huge fan of American Horror Story. And he's like, oh, like this is all wrong. Like you just don't get the show. You don't get the vibe of the show.
Because you have never watched it.
Exactly.
With me, and I was like, but the thing is, like, what I was confused is what was her entire goal. But either way, let's continue.
Yeah, because she's like, I spent all this money like trying to make this game, and I have my designers in the garage, and you're like, why the fuck are you spending all this money to build a game?
Yeah,
that's money you could be using for anything else.
So I want to talk about like the opening scene for this one really quick. I really did like the whole video game design of the opening for this one. It was really interesting. The fact that they actually made like a video game type that you actually go see all the characters from Murder House once again. That kind of thing. I definitely enjoyed the opening. I thought it was a really cool take. But other than that, we realized that the mother wants to somehow impress her kid with American Horror Story by creating this game, and then she goes out of her way, and then after the opening, she starts watching American Horror Story.
She starts just binge watching it.
Murder House, binge watching it, and then on top of that, she goes to the house to buy it.
Yeah.
Or pretend to buy it, and then she somehow meets up with everybody from the house on Halloween Day, which is, I'm like, you're not going to meet a whole bunch of people because everybody's going out that night. What the fuck are you
Yeah.
doing?
And of course, that's the other
So,
confusing thing to me, where it's like, okay, so then it is set in the American Horror Story universe, but then
yeah.
everybody knows about American Horror Story. So that's why I was just like, what is this episode? Like, I'm just so confused. Like, what is the logic here? Because not only that, we have Dylan McDermott comes back as Ben from the first season.
Yeah.
And my first thought is, do you think that that's Ben Harmon, or do you think that's Dylan McDermott, the actor? Because he's kind of recognizable. Like, he has a very distinct look to him.
Yeah.
But then she just, like, apparently just does not know who he is. And I'm like, what season of American Horror Story did you watch?
Oh, seeing that actor made me think that the girl that played the housekeeper was going to be in there too.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
Moira.
Moira and all that stuff. And it's like,
Or even, his family, like, his wife and daughter.
yeah.
But at
You don't
this,
see a lot of the ones from the first season.
yeah, all you
see
have
the
from the
new
first season is
ones.
just him, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm over here
It's
like, oh,
super weird.
like, where's his family? Where's Tate?
Yeah,
It's
where's
just
Tate?
anything. And at this point, he's just become like super cynical because he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, I got bored and like I don't know what to do, so like I cheated on my wife again. And I'm like, oh my fucking god, just what is this?
Yeah. This was a little bit messy.
Yeah.
Then she tries to get behind the whole vibe of Murder House, and then she again gets a taste of her own medicine. She dies.
Yeah, she gets killed.
Um,
But by Scarlet, because Scarlet shows up to meet up
yeah,
with her girlfriend, and just puts on the rubber suit and just kills her.
yep.
And then we
So
get a time jump. We flash forward 3 years,
yeah,
and it's also Halloween night again. And the mom goes up to the kid, and she's like, "Hey, like I miss you. Like how you doing?" And the kid's like, I want nothing to do with you because you lied to us about going to the house. You said you weren't. You going somewhere else.
yeah, it's her
And
convention,
like,
and then
yeah,
to Murder House, and he tries to justify what the obsession. That's my thing. What was her obsession? What is the obsession?
I
Like,
don't
I don't
know.
that because I was like, I really want to know what the obsession is. I don't know if it was to make the video game, to win his love and affection, to have a family again. What was it? What
Or
what, what was the
yeah,
what
I
was the
don't. I
goal?
couldn't tell.
Like I was like, I don't. Why does she want to make this video game so bad? Why does she want to ruin her? It seems like they have a great relationship, even like in some aspects of the episode. So I don't know what the fuck's the problem. What was her obsession?
I don't know.
What was the idea?
I honestly don't know.
Like, yeah. So either way, he just says that he starts to put in the idea that the best way to purify, or basically finally free the souls of who live in Murder House, everybody that's been murdered and tortured and whatever, is by burning the house.
Yep.
And then she says, if you do that, you're never going to see me again, blah, blah. Promise me you're not going to do that.
And
He
then
says, fine.
the kid immediately he shows up at the house with like gas cans. He's like, all right, let's light this shit on fire.
Yeah, and another, literally, it's just, and then of course we see the whole thing with Scarlett and her girlfriend. She texts her. She's a ghost, but she can text from the outside.
The fuck?
Yeah, I was like, this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so
What
like,
is
how
happening?
does a ghost text?
Yeah.
Like it was so confusing. It was so frustrating. And then so yeah, the kid's in there. He's just dousing the lawn. Not even the house. He's just dousing the lawn on fire.
Yeah. All around. And then the mom said, "Promise me." Immediately burns. And then everybody's trying to prevent
So like the high school bullies are like trying to stop. Was her name like Ruby or something?
Ruby, yeah.
Tries to stop her from like killing the kid. So
Yeah, because they all want to have their souls to rest.
yeah.
That kind of thing. And then Scarlet arrives to try and stop him. And he drops the lighter and
Boom.
in flames it goes. And, Mom says bye in the flames. And Ruby is trying to convince Scarlet to kill herself. But she says no, walks away.
Yeah, and Ben also says his goodbyes. Because I guess like, all the spirits have left now.
They're all asleep.
Yeah,
permanently. And then towards the end,
they turn into an apartment complex.
Yeah, they turn into an apartment complex. But before that, we realized this is the end of the video game.
Oh no, not yet. That's like right at the end of the episode.
I think it was before. It was way before. It's before.
Was it? Oh yeah, it was. It was like right after the house was set on fire. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then at that point you're like, so then was none of that real?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're like, okay, I guess it's all.
I was like, how is the mom alive? Why is she there? Was like,
yeah.
But did she put herself in the video game? That's so weird.
Right? Like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
But then after that, we get to, an apartment complex, and you're like, wait, so then the house did burn for real?
Yeah, like...
Or, like, is this in the video game? And you're like, okay, so then, like, Scarlett's like, hey, I'm going to buy this apartment because it's, like, on the grounds where, the murder house used to be. And, like, tries to communicate with Ruby, and at first she can't get a hold of her. She's like, damn, maybe she really is gone, like, there's no coming back. Until Ruby comes back. Like, 30 seconds after.
Yeah. And everything lives happily ever after.
And, like, that's how it ends, and I'm just like, what the fuck just happened? Like... so I'm like, I'm like, okay, so was the house real? Was it? Did it really burn, or was that just part of the game, or is the game even a thing? Like I was just so confused the entire time.
Yeah,
I'm like, come on.
Like I said, like Farrell, and the last episode, I think the first two episodes were fine the way they were. And they could have just left it there, and there's.
Yeah, they should have just ended that story there.
Love story.
Yeah.
But then they decided to clusterfuck it some more with the video game, and I was like, I don't understand. What are you doing, American Horror Story? Like
that
was tolerable compared to Cult, but man, like this is pushing it for you guys.
Like, what made you think that was like, okay, this is how we're going to end the season? With this, whatever this is. Yeah.
Nope.
Because, like, because I felt like the episodes were doing pretty good. You had the first two that were kind of okay. They were kind of stumbling out of the gate a little bit. But then, the show picks up with, like, the next 3 episodes. But then the 2 episodes after that are just like, okay, this was boring as hell. And the other one's like, this is confusing as hell.
Yeah, so I mean, this was like a good 6 out of 10. I would like to give it because I like to give the other 3 credit for being good.
Yeah,
it's just that. And of course, a little solid on the murder house in the beginning, but they lose fucking 4 points with that last one. You're like, yo, what the fuck did you guys do?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Because like, if it wasn't for that last episode, I would have given it a 7 out of 10. Because some of the episodes are a little uneven, but like when they're good, they're really good. Like when they're on point. But then that last episode rolls around and it just ruins everything.
Yeah, it's like, what did you? So this is what I meant to say: is with American Horror Story double feature. You would think they would have 2 episodes of something.
Well, no, because double feature is a new season, not American Horror Stories. American Horror Stories is like its own thing. Double feature is just the name of the new season.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but where was the double feature? We had 3.
No.
3 episodes of Murder House.
Double feature is the name of of the new season because half of the season is going to be one story and the other half is going to be another story, but they're connected. So like the first season is all about the first half of double feature is the mermaid stuff, and then the second half is the alien stuff. That's why it's called double feature.
What part? Never mind. I don't know.
I don't know what's happening.
I love American Horror Story, and I have I don't have a guilty pleasure for it. It's solid. It's a solid show. It's just like it's a hit or miss with these ideas, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's like
Fuck.
Murder House was good. Asylum was good. Covenant was good. Freak Show slow, and a little confusing. Hotel amazing. Cult kill me. What was it?
Roanoke.
Roanoke solid. It was good. Kind of short. It was short. What was the other one? Shit. After Roanoke was Apocalypse. It was pretty good. I'll give not excellent, but pretty good. Then there was 1984, amazing. I loved 1984.
And I'm over here
this was like, they gave me a Jello shot in my hand instead of shooting it in my mouth. They're just like, promise.
No, and they didn't even give you a cup with a Jello shot. They're just like, here, they just put it in your hand.
Yeah, I was like, it's a Jello shot, but it's in your hand. You gotta lick your hand and catch some COVID up in this bitch. I tell you. Yeah, it was not. Like I said, 6 out of 10. I'll give credit to those individual stories that stood alone, but just Murder House, what the fuck, and Feral, what the fuck. Like those two.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was our review of American Horror Stories. Yay!
Yeah, so yeah, that was our thoughts on the first season of American Horror Stories. There are some episodes that are really good, some episodes that are okay, and one episode that's just bad. But overall, if you can get past some of the bad stuff, I think it's somewhat enjoyable. Like you'll get something good out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend that you at least watch some of the episodes. Preferably the drive-in episode, the Santa Killer episode, and then the Ball episode. If you can just watch those 3, I think you'll be good. You don't really need to watch the other ones, honestly.
So you're very curious about what happens in Murder House, but
Yeah, unless you're super into the Murder House lore, but outside of that, you can skip those.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was really all our thoughts.
I think that was supposed to be the meat and bones. I feel like that was supposed to be the meat and bones.
Yeah, and like you'd think with that being supposed to be the main focus, it would have been written better.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We are getting that new season pretty soon, actually, in like a day now by the time this episode comes out. Because it comes out on the 25th. Or 2 days.
American Horror Stories?
Yeah. No, the double feature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it comes out on the 25th.
Alright.
Cool. Yeah, but it is time to end this episode. But before we do that, we're going to do some of our housekeeping. So we're going to start off with Vania. Where can we find you?
You can find me on... Kidding. You can find me on YouTube and on Twitter under HHN Cultist. I do makeup, theme park vlogs, horror nights, you name it. I talk about it all. And yeah, just a whole bunch of really random rants on Halloween Horror Nights and makeup. So if you like that shit, follow me. But there's also other interesting people in this podcast. So Yussef, where can you be found?
Yeah, I can be found on Instagram at Yussef1220 and on Twitter at itbeyusef. I've been super active on Twitter, not super active on Instagram, but I've been having fun on there. And then for our podcast, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sounds from the Grave. And then for listening to our podcast and like areas where you can go listen to it, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor, and pretty much anywhere else you can get podcasts, as well as our YouTube channel, which we did post a vlog recently of Vania and I going to Universal checking out the All Hallows Eve boutique and checking out the scare zones, like getting an up close and personal look at those. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and check that out. It was a really fun time. We had a good time making that. But yeah, that's really all we have.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a kind of short-ish,
Yeah, we'll
long
see.
episode. We'll see.
Yeah, actually,
but yeah,
I actually forgot to mention. By the time this episode comes out, we are going to be announcing the winner of our giveaway. So keep your eyes peeled for that, because it is going to be a $50 Universal gift card. So you can get some HHN merch or drinks or food or whatever you want at Universal. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. The announcement should be out by this point, or if not, it's going to be out a little bit later past the episode airing.
For sure.
Yeah. So good luck to all of you. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, guys. Enjoy yourselves and take care. Stay spooky.
Stay spooky, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Adios.